Are we all here? Hello?
I feel like we can get started.
Can everyone hear me? This is Rick Smith.
Yep, you sound great.
Perfect. Thank you for your attendance for this, what we hope will be a valuable conversation. It's one of many tough talks. We try and focus these tough talks on the most, salient and important issues surrounding us today, right now. So we'll begin. The focus of the conversation today is keeping safe in today's world. Before I kind of set it up and turn it over to our co-presenters, I'd like for Hillary Hillary Lenz, who is our executive director, to make some introductory comments. Hillary?
Thank you, Rick. We're so happy to have you all here today to talk about an important topic. Right now, we're all trying to stay safe in many different ways. And one of those ways is against scams and frauds, which have been running rampant during a difficult time. So we really appreciate you joining us today to learn more about this and how to best protect ourselves and what to do if something does happen and where to report different phishing scams and things like that. So we're really excited to talk with our panelists about this important topic, and we're happy you're all here with us today. We'll continue to provide virtual and call-in programming so that we can get together as a community in different ways over the coming months. So we look forward to your participation as we continue to build community and connections during this time where we can't all get together in a room and talk about this. So thank you so much for being here with us virtually. We're thinking about you all the time, and we're happy to have you join us. I'll kick it back to Rick.
Great. So we'll have an hour-long conversation. We hope at the end of it, there'll be questions that we can we can address and answer. So as a setup, in today's world, especially in today's world, there are opportunists, and there always have been opportunists. Some of these do very good things. They see the changing world around us and see a chance to provide products and new services to us so we can manage ourselves in developing situations. COVID, the shrinking and fractured economy, the stress of isolation, we're all managing those things. These opportunists manufacture things we need to maneuver through that environment, masks that actually work. They invest in accelerated vaccine development. They provide financial relief programs. They make a profit, which is proper, because they provide an important product to us when we need them. We're not going to talk today about those opportunists. We're going to talk about the second group. The second group of opportunists don't do good things. They don't intend to, and they never have intended to do good things. They take advantage of us and have really no intention of providing a product or service. Their intention is to take resources and money from you and from me. They will do anything to accomplish that end. I want you to remember that word, anything to accomplish that end. They're well organized, they're well trained, they're well managed, and they're focused on one end result, which is to separate you and I from our wallets and our checking accounts. So our conversation today is about them. We have two very highly trained experts in this field to present today, and they'll introduce themselves as they need as they facilitate conversation. But there are a couple of intriguing and interesting qualities about both of them. Hazel Heckers has a graduate degree in Jungian psychology, which at its most basic level is the search for the meaning of behaviors, which is entirely applicable to what we're going to talk about today. In 2014, Hazel was chosen by the U.S. Department of Justice as the top victim advocate in the United States. She is currently with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. The second co-presenter is a gentleman named Clint Carlson. He is an international leader in education technology, which is difficult enough. He teaches students not just technological skills, but also how to transform those skills into critical thinking and making good decisions. He has a variety of degrees and certifications, which you can see on his LinkedIn page. And he is currently program manager of digital education and academic technology at the University of Colorado Medical Campus. Both are experts in exactly the subject that we're going to be talking about today. We hope it is helpful. We hope it is useful. And with that, I'm delighted to turn over the conversation to Hazel and to Clint.
So hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. As Rick said, my name is Hazel, and I work at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. And we have a special unit dedicated to identity theft and fraud, scams, cybercrimes, that sort of thing. And so I'll be talking to you today from the law enforcement perspective, but also a little bit about what you can do to keep yourself safe so that you don't have to talk to us. And Clint, could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Clint Carlson. As we were so well introduced, I work at the University of Colorado over at the Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora, and very excited to be speaking with everyone today.
So if we could just progress the slides forward. Next slide there.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we are going to do is ask you, please, please, please ask us questions. Promise no dancing, but if you ask us questions, we can tell you what you want to know. One of the things that frustrates me the most is when I go to a presentation and I have all these questions and I go in all excited to get the answers and they talk about something completely different than what I wanted to know. So ask us questions. Let us tell you what you need to know. Okay. So next slide. So we're calling this pandemics and predators, but basically these predators will behave this way whether there's a pandemic or not. They just, as Rick mentioned, are opportunists and they'll take advantage of anything, including the pandemic. So when you think about a predator, this is what you think about. The dictionary definition is an animal that naturally preys on others. When you put this into the human context, this is the guy that mugs you at gunpoint, that kind of thing. But when you look at another definition of predator, it's a person or a group that ruthlessly exploits others. Now, if you see the snarling wolf or the guy who's mugging you at knife point or at gunpoint, you think predator. When you see this cute little guy all dressed up in his suit, you don't think predator. So the same thing happens with these criminals. When you see a nasty criminal, you think that's a bad guy. When you see a slick scammer whose job is to sell you himself, you don't see the predator. But really, this wolf will turn into that nasty predator in a heartbeat. Okay, so next slide, please. What we want to talk to you about is the nature of the predator, because what we know in law enforcement is that if you understand the criminal, if you understand the predator, you can avoid being their victim, at least most of the time. So what we want you to know is that these are highly trained, sophisticated criminals. These are not, on the whole, the crazy guy in his mother's basement. These are very highly trained people who usually work for organized crime or a terrorist organization. They are the best of the best. They are very talented cyber criminals. I think Clint will probably talk to you a little bit more about that later on, but I just want you to understand who you're dealing with. These people are incredibly skilled at getting what they want. So if being nice doesn't work, they'll turn to being threatening. They will do whatever it takes to get what they want. They will groom you. They'll call you and they'll be sweet and they'll chat with you about your grandkids, and they'll do whatever it takes to get you on their side. And when that doesn't work, they'll terrify you. And here's the reality. They will look and they will sound pretty, but they are still that vicious predator. Okay, next slide. So the other thing that we want you to hear is that anyone can be a victim. What we have learned is that there's a scam for everyone. Any person of any age, any ability, any education level, anyone can be a victim of these predators. So I think that what we hear frequently from people who call us after they've become a victim is, I should have known better. I feel so stupid. How did I fall for this? Oh my God, if my kids heard about this, they'd think I had dementia. What you need to hear, and what I really want you to hear, is that anyone, even law enforcement officers, even prosecutors, even experts in the field, can become victims of these predators because they are that good. It is their job to get you to be their victim. That's what they do all day. That's what they're trained to do. The same way that I spend years learning how to do my job, they spend years learning how to do their job. They have continuing education classes. They do the whole 9 yards. So remember, if this does happen to you, you are not at fault. You are the victim. The person who is at fault is the predator, the criminal. And I think that fear of being considered at fault is really what keeps people from reporting to us. The predators know that, and they'll play on that. They'll even tell you things like, well, you don't need to include your kids in this. You don't need to talk to anybody about this. Well, don't talk to the bank about this. They'll just try to stop you. So just be aware of it. The predators know that you have that fear. And any scam can become an identity theft. So it's really important to us that you do report. Even if you don't fall for the scam, there might be information that they have about you that could cause you to be a victim of identity theft. So please, reporting is really, really important. And then by reporting, you're also helping law enforcement. We don't know how to protect you from all of the scams if we don't know what scams are going on. So reporting to us is really critical. Okay, next slide, please. So we all know about COVID and all of those horrible things that COVID has done. But what people don't think about often is the effect that COVID has had on crime. We have seen a drastic increase in crime since the stay-at-home orders started back in late February, early March. There are a lot of things that contribute to scammers being able to do their job better. The whole isolation piece, and I'm not going to read all this to you, but you get it. There's a lot of isolation going on now. One of the things that has really impacted our ability to educate people about scams is senior centers being closed, and there's no congregate meal sites. And what we hear from a lot of people when they call us after they've been a victim of a scam is, I haven't seen or talked to another human being in months. There's contactless delivery of food and groceries. There's, only people on the phone. There's only these long distance things. And then this scammer called and they chatted with me and they talked to me and they made me feel good and connected again. So this is something scammers do well. They're really taking advantage of that now during this sense of isolation that we all have because of COVID. So next slide, please. And then, there's always those complications. I think that this is probably for another presentation, but there are possibly people that who are sheltering at home or staying at home with an abuser. someone who is taking advantage of them financially or physically. And so that kind of adds to it. Then when that's going on and you get a scammer who calls and is nice, it can be something that you just want a chance to get out. You want a chance to get away from that. So you might fall for it. The other thing is that we live in an internet world now. And I think this is something that I'll let Clint talk to you a little bit more about because he is the expert in this. But man, we're on the internet a lot now, much more than we ever were before. And there are so many of us who were never before on the internet who are now. People who didn't used to connect all the time on the internet, but are now. People who were never on Facebook or never on social media or would never in their wildest imagination think about going on a dating website. Now they're doing it because there's no other way to connect. And that often creates a lot of fear and a lot of confusion. So next slide, please. Okay, here is what I want you to hear really clearly. Predators know what's going on. We think about criminals sometimes as being opportunists, but they're not just opportunists. They're professionals. This is their job. So what they know is that older adults especially tend to be more isolated now than they ever were before. They know they can use that fear and any other fears that you have as a weapon. They also know that you probably are kind of a newbie to some of the computer stuff. Maybe you were great at using the computer before, but now you're FaceTiming and now you're going on social media and now you're buying things online, things that you may not have ever done before. They also know that you still love that phone call. There's something really nice about having a human voice to talk to. I love it. And I'll tell you, my daughter and I fight about this all the time. She'll send me a text. I'll call her and leave her a voicemail saying, hey, honey, I'd like to talk to you. And she'll send me a text saying, well, text me, Mom. So the scammers know we don't want a text. We want a phone call. And so they will call us. The other thing the predators know is that they will not put you on hold. They will not transfer you. They will not have you wait to speak to someone. They will be there. They will be there and they will be your best friend. They'll also pick up on things. At some point in the conversation, if they don't already know your age, they will ask you. And if you're of an age where you could be a grandparent, they'll say things to you like, oh man, you remind me of my grandma. Or, oh, my grandpa died last year and you sound just like my grandpa. Do you see the way that they're kind of grooming you to trust them and to be your friend? And they know that you want to feel helpful and useful during a crisis. So they'll find a way that what you're doing is going to help somebody else. Okay, next slide. So just so that you know, there are a lot of scams out there on the internet. And if you will just send me $19.95 in a gift card, I'll tell you how to avoid them. So this is the problem with not having a live audience. I can't tell if you all are laughing, but you should be laughing because this is a joke. This is not serious. Please, 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 nobody send me $19.95. This is just a joke. But you know, the thing is that I pulled this off of a website. This was not a joke on that website. This was a real ad on a website. And when I checked it, I checked out the IP address, I checked out the address where you were supposed to send the $19.95. They were criminals in Pakistan. They're not going to tell you anything. And all of the things that anybody can tell you, you can get for free from law enforcement, from experts like Clint. Okay, next slide, please. So during COVID, we're seeing a lot of the scams that we have seen all along, but we're also seeing some new ones. So COVID has given us an opportunity for some new scams. Stimulus checks, stimulus money in unemployment, fake cures, fake tests, fake vaccines, that kind of thing. So we do see a lot of new things that are coming up that we didn't see before. Okay, next slide, please. So here's some of those new things that we're seeing. The stimulus funds. At the time that the stimulus funds came out, and trust me, there's probably going to be more stimulus funds coming in the new year. And These scammers will be right back out there talking to you about how they can get it to you faster, they can get you more money, and they can do whatever it is that you need to do to get you more. So just be very aware that no one can do that for you. Anybody who's offering to do that for you is a scam artist. And if you believe them and you want to give it a try, just do me a favor, call me first. I'll check them out for you and I'll tell you, yes, it's a scammer. Nope, that person can really get you some money. The other thing that we have seen, and I think we will continue to see, is fake treatments and fake cures on the internet. So here is what I will tell you. I'm all for doing natural stuff and that sort of thing, but there are a lot of fakes out there right now. So it's really important to listen to the professionals. If it's your medical professional, your primary care physician, or the CDC or someone, don't believe what you're seeing online, that this is the new immune booster that's going to keep you safe and healthy, or this is the new treatment, or this is the new vaccine. Don't wait. This is the new one. So those are some of the new scams that we're seeing with COVID. If you wouldn't mind, next slide, please. Testing is another one that we've seen. We've seen a lot of people saying, we can get you tested fast, we can get you tested easy, you don't need your doctor. And here's what I think has gotten a lot of people and got a lot of people scammed into paying a fortune for fake tests. You can see your family if you test negative. So that's one of those things, when you are isolated, when you are by yourself, when you are just feeling so lonely, and it's been a long time since you held your grandbaby, if somebody tells you if you test negative and all it's going to cost you is $49.95, then you can see your family. Well, who wouldn't pay $50 to see their family? But then the next thing is, well, you tested negative, but do you know that they're negative too? They can get tested too. And then if you all test negative, you can see each other. And it's just a fake test. It's nothing. So they were charging people quite a bit of money. The $50 is kind of low. Some of them were charging much more than that. So it's a big scam. What you need to know is that if you need to get tested, you need to go to an official testing site, and nobody online or calling you on the phone is going to be able to give you something better. And then we saw a lot of contact tracing. These have come up more and more often in the last month or two, telling you that they need access to your smartphone, that they want you, they're going to send you a text and they want you to click on that link. And I'll tell you now, and I think Clint may go into more detail about this, do not click on links. Never, never, never click on links. And then they would also say, give us all of your info and we'll trace who you know. And when they say give us all your info, what they're saying is give us everything that you are, your social security number, your date of birth, your legal name, your family members, and then we'll trace everybody that you know. But what they're really tracing is how they can get money from you, how they can steal your ID, how they can get credit cards in your name, that sort of thing. You also we've seen a lot of text messages and emails that say, oh, we contact traced and you've been exposed. And they won't say you've been exposed because Bob Smith exposed you. They'll say things like 6 grocery stores in your area have had outbreaks. If you've shopped at any of those grocery stores in the last 2 months, you're at very high risk. Now, if you pay, we'll give you information about where that was. That just scares a lot of people. Okay, next slide, please. So we also see some of the same scams. We call it same scam, different box. I'm going to save that first one for last and then just talk about the others first. We have seen a lot of work from home scams. Work from home scams are crazy out there. One of the biggest ones is they will send you a check and ask you to deposit that check and buy gift cards and get the gift cards to them, or go and buy Bitcoins and get the Bitcoins to them. And what they'll tell you is that you're doing this, that's just your job, because they want you to say, how did Walmart treat you when you went in there to buy that gift card? How were you treated at Target when you bought that gift card? When you went to the Bitcoin ATM, was it easy to use or was it more complicated? You think you're doing a great job. What you'll find out later is that that check is a fake. And you now owe the bank all of that money. So that there's quite a few work from homes, but that's one of the biggest ones. Another one that we see so often, but we're still seeing it now. And I really want to warn you about this one because we see it so much. We actually used to call it the granny scam. I know that sounds offensive, but that's law enforcement likes to name things cutesy names. And we called it the granny scam, but the truth is it can happen to anybody. You receive a phone call saying that you have a loved one who's in trouble. A grandchild, a child, a sibling, a friend who's in trouble. They used to say things like they've been arrested or something like that, but now what they're saying is your grandson was traveling in another state, New York, California, something like that, and they went into the emergency room and they have COVID and they're very, very sick and they need to be on a respirator, but there are so few of them in this state that he needs to pay for it and his insurance won't pay. The only way he can get a respirator, which will save his life, is if you wire us or send us $6,000 to pay for that. Now, if this was true, who would not? Who would not find a way to get $6,000 to save their grandchild? You all would. But what you're doing is sending $6,000 to a criminal because that's just not the way the medical profession works. Another one that we have seen recently is someone spoofing the number for somebody's smartphone. And they call you from that smartphone number and they say, hey, this is, so-and-so, and we have kidnapped your granddaughter. And you'll hear some woman screaming in the background, Grandma, help me, Grandma, help me. The only way that you're going to get your granddaughter back alive is if you give us this amount of money, put it in a Bitcoin account for us. The number that they're calling from looks like your granddaughter's phone. And so it looks like they actually have your granddaughter's phone. But the truth is that they don't have your granddaughter and they don't have her phone. Clint, will you be talking about spoofed phone numbers at all?
I will.
Okay, good. Well, Clint will tell you a little bit more about how they do that. But just be aware, all of those things are scams. And what we encourage you to do if you do get one of these calls is to call family members. Verify, verify, verify. If you call your granddaughter, you'll find out that she's not kidnapped. She's, hanging out at home, playing with the puppies. So check it out, verify, verify. But what you can do today, this is what you can do today to keep yourself from being a victim of this in the future. Call all of your loved ones and set up a password and a security question with them. If you are ever really in trouble, this is the password that you will give me so that I will know it's really you. And then I'm going to follow it up with this security question, and here's the answer that you will give so that I know that it's you. And that way, if something does happen, because things do happen, people travel and they get mugged or they lose their wallet and they need some help, you'll know it's your loved one because they'll know the password and they'll know the security question. And you'll be able to say to them, and I'm going to call your dad and make sure that, you really are in Florida. Then there's some of the ones that are just typical beneficiary and lottery scams. The difference that we're seeing now is that in the past, they were crazy. You are distantly related to a king in Nigeria who's passed away and is leaving you $20 million. Now, really, who's going to believe that? But people do. But now these scams are just a little bit different. Now what they're saying is your uncle who lives in Wisconsin passed away and left you money passed away from COVID and left you money in his will. All I need for you to do is verify who you are. So could you tell me your full legal name? Tell me who your parents are, give me your date of birth, and give me your social security number so I can verify it. And then they have everything that you need. Then they'll tell you, yep, that's you. And he left you $500,000. But, you're in Colorado and this is in Wisconsin. So there are some interstate gift taxes that you have to pay first. So if you could send us $1,000, $2,000 to pay those taxes, we'll get that money out to you. And the same thing is happening with that lottery scam. Just give us money up front and we'll get you your winnings. Or a grant scam, which says because of COVID, you're eligible for a grant. But you have to give all your personal identifying information and you have to pay a fee. And first it'll be a $500 fee. Then it's going to be a $1,000 fee in addition to that. And then you'll have to pay an additional $5,000. And before you know it, you'll be in debt for $100,000 for a $50,000 alleged grant that doesn't even exist. The biggest one that we have seen during COVID is the unemployment scam. And that is where someone, and we believe it happened through a data breach, someone uses your social security number and sometimes your name to apply for unemployment. This was rampant when there was that extra $600 a month stimulus. And then you start getting information in the mail about your unemployment benefits, but it's not you. That is huge. That is a huge one. It has been so elaborate and so extensive that most states' unemployment offices are 2 to 4 months behind in calling people back to take their complaint. So that one is crazy. If you've gotten a Relia card in the mail saying that your unemployment is going through and you didn't apply for it, we'd like to have you call us because that's part of that scam. I'm not going to go into the new best friend or hired help one, but that's something that I would encourage you to talk to the people at A Little Help about just having people who just show up at your house to help you out with projects. Romance scams are one of those things. We have seen a 40% increase in romance scams since the beginning of COVID. And that is when somebody meets you on Facebook or Match.com or Senior Soulmates or Christian Mingle or something like that. And they just love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. And they want to marry you. They want to come and be with you. All they need is a little money to get ahead. One of the things that we know that they'll do if you don't have the money, because people always tell me, well, I can't be a victim of an identity theft or of a scam. I don't have any money. So what are they going to get from me? Well, what they're going to get from you is they're going to use you as their money mover or their money mule. They will use you to launder money. Well, honey, I understand you don't have any money, but my aunt said she would send you money. And then you can forward the money that she sends you to my account, to my offshore account, or you can take it to the Bitcoin ATM and buy me Bitcoins with the money that my aunt sends. Oh, and my grandma's going to send you some, and my friend Sherry's going to send you some, and on and on. And pretty soon you're receiving large dollar amounts and you're wiring them or putting them in Bitcoin. You have become their money launderer. Those are other people who are being scammed who are sending you money, and you're sending it on to the scammer. So, we encourage you to think about it. Love should not cost you anything. Love should be free. If you think you might be involved in a romance scam and you're not sure, just give us a call. We'll check out the person for you. We'll let you know if they're legitimate or not. So I did tell you I would go back to that first one, the extortion scam. And this is one that a lot of people have called us about. They get an email saying, we hacked into your computer. And when we hacked into your computer, we saw you doing nasty stuff. You were pleasuring yourself, or you were doing something else in front of your camera. And we're going to share that on social media. We're going to share that with everybody in your contacts list if you don't give us $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. The truth is, they don't have pictures of you doing anything. But a lot of people, even though they know they weren't doing that on their computer, they know that there was nothing going on. But they know there's Photoshop and they know there's criminals. So they get really scared and they'll pay the money anyway. So we just encourage people to know that is a scam. Ignore them. They'll send you another email saying, don't ignore me, but ignore them again, and they will go away. So one of the unexpected outcomes I just like to tell people about, and I don't want to take up too much time because I want Clint to have enough time to talk to you, but I do want to tell you the story because I just think it's funny. We had about 10 people who were victims of this who all were 75 and older. Most of them were in their 80s. A couple of them were in their 90s. And they thought it was hilarious. They just thought it was so funny that somebody would expect $2,000 or $3,000 to have a picture of an old lady doing something nasty in front of her computer, or an old man doing something. So they thought that was just hilarious. But they wondered if other people had the same experience. Well, I called all of the people that we'd had call in and complain. And about 10 of them said, yeah, I would like to talk to other people who've had this happen too. And so I organized a Zoom meeting where they all came on. They thought it was so much fun because I had them all go incognito and take screen names so nobody knew who they were and nobody showed their face. And they got to talk to each other. And when they were talking to each other about it, they shared other information. You know what other scam I got? You know who else called me? You know what else happened? Do you know the resource that I found that's really helpful? So they've become this little support group of 10 people who now they are all over the state of Colorado. I don't think any two of them live in the same city, but they are now best friends. They communicate with each other on a regular basis. They talk 3-4 times a week. They have their own Zoom meetings now without me being a part of it. I don't know if I should be honored or not, but they call it Hazel's Senior Sex Club because that was what got them together, was that extortion scam. But, you know, it's one of those things that we miss during a pandemic, going to the senior center or going to the local bowling alley or wherever it is that you go to communicate with people and talking about these things. So that was one of those unexpected outcomes. And I love it because they all got it. This is an extortion scam. And that's all it is a scam. So I also sent them all little covers that they could put over their webcam while they're online so that nobody can hack into their computers. But the truth is you could do it with a sticky or a piece of duct tape or anything like that too. Mine were just cute. So that's that one. And I think that Clint may talk to you a little bit about remote access to your computer, people who want to remote access your computer. Or would you like me to talk about that?
I can cover it, or if you've got it prepped, either way.
Well, it's just a quickie, and then I'll let Clint go into more detail. People will call you and claim to be almost anybody. And in doing that, they will try to gain access to your computer. One of the ones that we have seen recently that is really sophisticated and really good is that you get a phone call from Amazon saying that your Amazon Prime payment did not go through. And then people will say, but I don't have Amazon Prime. And they'll say, well, you know what? We've been billing you for it for 6 months. So for 6 months, you've been paying us this amount of money. So we need to refund you. Well, yeah, you need to refund me. Well, let's get onto your Amazon account so that we can just make sure that that's not where the problem is. And then they say, could you just share your computer screen with me? Can you let me in? I need to just remote access it so I can make those changes. And then they do. They remote access. They're not making changes to your Amazon account. What they are doing is stealing all of your information and adding spyware and adding malware to your computer. But then the scam doesn't end there. They'll say, you know what? We owe you $450. So can you give us your bank account information and we'll just put that money back in your account right now? So of course you say, yes, I want that money back in my account. I could use 450 bucks. And you give them your account information. Then they call you back and they say, you know what? We made a mistake. Instead of $450, we put $45,000 in your account because we just did the comment in the wrong place. So can you reimburse us for that $40,000 over? And you call your bank and sure enough, there's an extra $40,000 in your bank account. How did that happen? Well, when they were on your computer, they gained access to information that allowed them to access your savings account or your IRA or your retirement fund. And they moved that $40,000 from those accounts over into your checking account so that it would look like they had deposited that $40,000. And then you send them $40,000. So you've just sent them your savings. So that's a little bit about how that works. And I'm sure Clint will tell you a little bit more about the remote access and what goes on your computer during that. And then one final reminder for you about holiday scams. You know, you should be shopping for your friends and family, not for the scammers. But it is the season for scams. There's gift card scams, online purchases scams, home delivery scams. All sorts of scams. They're starting now because of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So be aware of them. If you want to know more about them, just give me a call. I saw in the chat box some people were asking for phone numbers. At the end of the presentation, you'll have my phone number and all my contact information. Just give me a call. We'll give you details about it. If you have a group of people that you want to get together in a Zoom meeting to just talk about these things in more detail, we'll do that. Just let me know what it is that you want. Okay, so now next slide, please. Okay, so what can you do? Because now we've told you about all these things, and then usually this is where a presentation will end. Well, there's all this bad stuff going on. See ya. So we don't want to do that. So Clint is going to talk to you a little bit about how you can get your ducks in a row.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hazel. That was a lot of information and quite frankly, a tough lead to follow because that was so thorough. If anybody feels intimidated or overwhelmed with all of these types of scams and all the nuances in here that Hazel was talking about, that's also part of the strategy. Strategy is to confuse and to overwhelm so that these simple scams can slide right in. So we're going to talk a little bit about, some of these slides are going to be almost paraphrasing what Hazel was talking about. But I think it's really important that we dig into it a little bit and talk about what we can do to protect ourselves. And I know that was already touched on a little bit, but we'll dig in a little bit deeper. So this is always important. This is important and not just for seniors, it's important for everybody. I recently will admit to getting caught up in a scam here at work, where our IT department sent out an email to everybody saying, hey, your inbox is running out of space. We need you to click here to remedy the situation. And my first reaction was, well, why aren't they doing this automatically? But then I clicked the link without thinking too much about it, thinking I was in a secure ecosystem here at work. And I wasn't. It went to a scamming site and immediately flagged IT, who informed me that they sent that email out as a test to everyone, just to see who would fall for these types of scams. And who I consider myself a rather professional at these types of things, fell for one immediately. So there's no shame or stigma behind falling for these things or thinking twice about them or really teasing them out a little bit. I mean, these things really do impact everybody, even though they may be directed at certain demographics. So why this conversation is important, it's always important, but especially right now, this time of the year, we see an uptick in these types of scams. And the reasons for those are that we know that people are feeling a little extra charitable because of the holiday seasons coming up. So that's an easy in to get in on somebody who's looking to donate something and to offer them an opportunity to donate to an incredible cause that doesn't actually exist. People are lonely over the holidays. This is true every year, and I know it breaks my heart thinking about people without family or friends to be able to connect with over the holidays. But extra this year because of COVID, because of Corona. The family and friends that you might see typically may not see this year, or you're going to see in a different limited capacity. So that's another opportunity for these scammers to come in and capitalize on that. And they're going to focus on people's loneliness as an in to start that conversation and to get what they're hoping to achieve. A lot of people get new devices over the holidays, either for Christmas presents or another holiday presents. You might get a new phone or a new iPad or a new laptop or used, or you may be gifting these to other people. So these scammers are tuning in to prey on people who just may not know their device very well, who may not know where their passwords are. And this is another in to creating that conversation and creating that space to build that scam. And of course, as Hazel went over in detail, the COVID scams coming out with the different stimulus and the confusion around those COVID stimulus funds coming out. There's a lot of confusion. So for somebody to get somebody on the line and be able to speak as if it's very clear and simple, and it's very easy for me to get you this stimulus money. Again, that's just another way of creating that gap so that they can penetrate and get in and start their scam, whatever that may be. So a couple signs of malicious communications. So anytime somebody's talking about giving a refund, a Medicare refund, or offers free medical equipment, or any kind of mortgage company saying that we can reduce your mortgage, we can just do this right over the phone, we just need a little bit of your information. All of these types of scams come through. And it's difficult to create bullet points for these because there are so many. And inside of the Medicare refunds, there's all kinds of versions and flavors of that type of scam going on also. So this is what really makes it so intimidating, is that there are so many types of scams and so many ways to communicate those scams. It can be over email, it can be over text message, it can be over phone call, it can be in the paper mail. Absolutely, we see these everywhere. So things you can do. And I tried to make this a very quick little list because there are many, many, many things you can do, but this should boil it down and help 99% of us. If you get a phone call and somebody's talking about any of the scams that Hazel was talking about, that yeah, your daughter's in Wisconsin and is in jail somewhere and we need some money, or we need this, or we need that. One of the first things that you can do is ask for their phone number and ask for their name and if you can call them back. 95% of them will hang up on you and they will be done. They're gonna move to the next target because you, just by asking that question, you have triggered them to understand that you're not a vulnerable person who's just going to take anything that they give. And they're working by the minute. These are hourly employees. This is their full-time position that they're going to school for. So the second they know that you're not a target, they're not even going to say goodbye. They're going to hang up and they're going to hit that next number on their list and try the scam again. So that will take care of a huge majority of your phone calls. Just ask for that name and phone number and ask if you can call them back. I'm busy for 10 minutes. I'm free this afternoon. Can I get your name and number and I'll give you a call back? They may say, well, I can give you a call back, but insist on getting their name and phone number so that you can return that phone call. And if they're legit, you can call them back right away and you're going to contact them and you can go through that legit conversation with them. But if they're not, they're just going to disappear. They're going to hang up and move on. Use an email spam blocking. Gmail is gotten very, very good at blocking spam. That's the Google email system, but many of the others are also. But if you're running an older email system that's filling your inbox with spam and all of this junk mail all of the time, it may be time to upgrade that. And you can handle that yourself by going to gmail.com, or you can contact a little help. You can put in one of those technology tickets into the system, and it's often me that will be contacting you and walking you through how to do that. So just eliminating the amount of this information coming in is very useful. And to be able to block that spam using a modern email system is the way to go. Checking links instead of just clicking. So absolutely, when you get an email, don't just be clicking on any links. You probably shouldn't be clicking on any links in your email at all. But one thing you can always do is you can look at that link, and if you hover over the link in your email, at the very bottom of your browser window, it will show the address that link is going to go to. And if that link doesn't match what is down in that bottom list, they're probably trying to redirect you somewhere else under the guise of you clicking to do something else. So just a thing to be thinking about. And of course, with all scams, for all ages, for all demographics, if somebody calls you or emails you or texts you and they've got an offer that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So the solution to that is to ask and to check with your family and friends, or to check with myself or with Hazel. I mean, send these messages our way and we can vet them for you and get you on the way. And we can also give you the information on here's how we vetted this information, so that you can build your own capacity to build this up. Scammers work by finding vulnerabilities in systems. This is how hacking works. And dealing with people, these types of scams is a form of hacking. We call it social, oh, now I lost the word. But it's a social manipulation. It's a social hacking. It's a way of finding what is the weak point in the system and getting in there and causing damage. Just like breaking into a large bank and taking all of their money out of it. It's finding that weak point in the vault. And that weak point here is people are vulnerable. When you get a scam call, it is difficult to not be in a vulnerable place. And we need to. And we can't do that alone. We have to do that as a community. We have to do that with a group of people. And to check with your family and friends and groups like this is a great way to do it. I mean, it only takes a couple of seconds to take a look and vet something. And where it builds up is that if you get a scam, and this is another cool thing about Gmail and these modern email systems, is that if an email scam comes your way and you flag it as spam, as a scam up in the email box, if enough people do that, Google gets smart enough to prevent that email from going to anybody else. So if you think of it as your email and you clicking and alerting things as spam as you being part of a community, you definitely are. Because in a way, you're crowdsourcing, identifying scams so that it doesn't impact other people. Here's a couple of resources. We're going to share this presentation with everyone afterwards, and it'll be on the A Little Help website afterwards, so don't worry about copying down these links. But there are some great pieces of information that we're going to share with you afterwards. Those were my slides. So back to you, Hazel, unless we want to interject with anything in the meantime. But we're getting close, and then we'll address the questions that I see filling up in the chat.
Yeah, we're getting really close, and I think we're pretty close to done. Just remember, you know, scammers and ID thieves are predators. They are criminals. And there are some red flags that you will see. If you learn something here today, spread the information, tell everybody else that you know, because knowledge is power, and it's what's going to keep people from being victims in the future. Like Clint said, you can help others by sharing that information. So next slide. So we just want to let you know a little bit about some, you know, attempted scams and the services that are available. So we would like to ask you to report any attempted scam to us here at CBI. Even if you didn't fall for it, if you listened today, you learned a lot, and you know that it was a scam and you hung up on them, please report it to us anyway. Because by reporting to us, you're helping us learn what the scammers are doing, and you're helping us educate others. So we've given you some information here that will help you, you know, tell us as much as possible. If you can get the phone number, if you can get anything else that would tell us a little bit about what, there you go. Anything that you can get that will tell us a little bit about who that scammer was. Phone numbers that they called from or texted you from, an email address, a website, what they said. And that sometimes really helps us identify where they're from and who they are by what they said. Did they say stay on the phone while you buy that gift card? Did they say this? That will help. And then a couple of other things like, did they speak English well, or did they have a heavy accent? That can really help us. I know it sounds like it might be a little profiling, but it does help us because it helps us determine, was this a domestic scammer or is this a foreign scammer? And then also, if they told you to do send money to them, how did they tell you to get it to them? Gift cards, Bitcoins, wiring, that sort of thing. Okay, now the next slide. And we are almost done, folks. So here are some phone numbers for our victim assistance team. We have a victim assistance website where we post current scams and that sort of thing. We also have a 24-hour hotline that you can call us, and a Facebook page where we do weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, scam alerts, where we tell you what's going on and how to avoid those scams. So for those of you who are social media savvy and do Facebook, please join us on Facebook and see what we have going on. Okay, next slide, please. So this is our 24-hour hotline number. You can call us at 2 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve, and we will have somebody answering the phone for you, just to offer you the support that you need, tell you, yep, that's a scam, or, you know, I think that this is what you should do about that. So we're there for you. Okay, next slide, please. And then if you just want to talk to me, or you want to talk to Clint, contacting Clint by email is probably the easiest. You can call me. If you don't mind that I have a really, really long greeting on my voicemail, if you get my voicemail, just, you know, listen to the greeting if you want to and leave me a message. I will call you back. If you tell me a good time to call you, I will call you back. Or send me an email too, if you prefer to do that. Okay.
Great, so let's jump into some questions. I see.
It says it's from First Bank and you bank at First Bank, and it's really a criminal. So if you're not expecting, if you didn't call your bank and say, hey, could you send me the link for online banking, that's probably a phishing email. If you get an email from somebody that you know and they've told you, oh yeah, I'll send you that link to that really cute purse I bought. And then they do, you know, you're probably safe. You can use Clint's trick of hovering over the email address too, and just make sure it's the actual person who sent it to you. So there's all sorts of ways that you can protect yourself. And, you know, if you don't know how to do that, you can call in tomorrow night and ask Clint.
You
Sure.
can. And I just want to, we want to be mindful of people's time, but thank you for coming on. The recording of this event will be on our website, alittlehelp.org/tough talks, but alittlehelp.org, you can find the link to it. There are a number of folks also that are dialing in. If you need help accessing that or need any phone numbers or contact information, just feel free to dial into the office to our main line. Hazel, I'm going to give out your phone number. Just
Please do.
folks can have that. It's 303-239-4649. That's Hazel's line. And if I can, well, the 24-hour victim support line, 855-443-3489. And with that, I will, unless we have more questions.
Got one last question from Sue. I'll do it real quick. She hears her fans turning on her laptop sometimes, even when she's not using it. Typically, the fans will turn on when you're doing something heavy video-wise, like watching YouTube or Netflix or something, because it needs to cool down that machine. So if it's running loudly all on its own when you're not using it, it's probably something mechanical with the laptop. You could probably ignore it, but if it's driving you crazy, put in that ticket to A Little Help and I'll come out and take a look. But almost absolutely not because it was hacked. It's just probably just dust inside.
Fantastic. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Have a good
See you
day.
later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
You as well. Bye-bye.